Hey folks, my name is Antoine Wright, and I want to welcome you guys to the final, or at least the last one for this calendar year, Mobile Ministry Magazine Videocast. I'm really happy that you have tuned in throughout the year. I know that the videos have been a little up and down, but minus my own little foibles in that end, and getting issues up and back. I really appreciate your patronage to Mobile Ministry Magazine over the course of this year. It's been a really exciting year, and so I want to just kind of wrap up with a few themes that have really made this year pop, and at the same time kind of set the roll forward for not just how Mobile Ministry Magazine goes forward, but really how we start to think about opportunities in ministry as it relates to digital spaces or connected spaces. And so let's talk about first, just some of the themes from this year. I'm going to actually use, the visual prop side of things. First, this for me was the year of Android. So I actually purchased 2 Android devices this year, which is really rare, from my end. I really, have not been a fan of Android. I used to review Android devices for brighthand.com, and I found that every device is the same. And it wasn't until after I purchased, this Nexus 5 from my man LJ that it really, was like, okay, let me go ahead and give Android as a device another shot. And don't get me wrong, I'm actually still not happy with it. It is still incredibly insecure on too many fronts. While it's easy to share, it is easy to be shared from, and it really makes it hard, for you to know what's going on in the Android environment because there's so many Android environments out there. And at the same time, it's not a popular device, but this Google Nexus device, this is the little skin case that I got for the second one because the first one took a really, really nasty spill, as you can tell there. But these Android devices, really do find themselves to be fairly versatile, and you can do almost anything you would like to with them. I'm rocking now the Android device along with Android L, so I'm really having a little bit of fun with that. That's actually been my device of choice recently. Android L I've had on this second Android device literally since I've gotten it, and I don't think I would have stuck with Android throughout this last half of the year without Android L. It is that significant of a user experience upgrade for those of you who are Android fans, or really for those of you who want to pay attention to the direction of the platform. That doesn't mean I don't still use my Nokia N9. It is recording these videos, which I will probably continue to do because that's what it does best. It's really my multimedia powerhouse. But it does mean that, I've bartered a piece of my computing life onto the dominant world platform. I still have my Apple iPad Mini Retina, and I won't be getting rid of that anytime soon. But that brings me to my second point. So first point was Android. The second one actually happened to be accessories. I really have had a boatload of fun with trying to figure out what accessories work best, for my various computing needs. Probably one of my favorite pieces to run at has been this little guy. This is the stylus. Pencil stylus by a company 53, and it just allows me to use some specific features in the application called Paper. But as a whole, when you are an artist or artist type, or you want to kind of get thoughts down really quickly, there's nothing like an application that's designed for your fingers or designed for a stylus that works really well for you. And for me, the pencil stylus has been one of the better stylus products out there, despite me having to already go and purchase a few new nibs for here. Now, granted, some of you have your favorite styli out there. There's the Jot Script, there's the Bamboo stylus, and you can get those, the little cheap little nub ones. You can find at pretty much any store that you can buy pens at these days. But I really found that kind of accessory, and a connected accessory, look, it's magnetic, it sticks to my case, it unlocks features within a specific application. I think, accessories that kind of build on top of software computing environments are the way we should think about life forward. Another accessory that's really been on point for me has been this guy. This is the Tron Smart T1000. Oops, I should probably turn it that way. All right. And this allows me to take any video or picture or mirror any screen from any Android or Apple device that I have and push that to a television set or to a projector. And I really, 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 really like this tool because, again, it's an accessory that accents what I'm already doing with a piece of hardware and some pieces of software. Now we've had things in the past, stuff like this, the Mixio, which allows you to take, your VGA side of things, and then you get to go HDMI. It's a little converter, quick little converter for that. But really what I like best are things like this that can just leverage the hardware that you have in your device. And for me, when I'm being multi-platform, you want to be able to have accessories that kind of accent your way of living without necessarily tying you down to one specific platform or another. All right, so having said that, I'm gonna move slightly out of frame here, but the other point, so we have Androids, we've got accessories. The last thing that's really been kind of a topic du jour this year has been the idea of wearables. Specifically these guys, wearable computing, little fitness bands that a lot of folks have been using. Some folks have been using wearable devices in regards to glasses, Google Glass. You've had rings out there, you've got pendants, you got bracelets, you got the Apple Watch coming, you've got the Android Wear devices that are out. And really while these are all really good and fun tools, it really does point to a different reality for computing. Okay, so like I said, accessories or computing accessories are great when they take something that you're doing right now and then they kind of push you out forward. They kind of push the reality of what you're doing forward from where you are right now. Well, wearables kind of take that and then make it personal. It puts it on your person. And so one of the areas that I think that mobile ministry or digital ministry or internet ministry, however way you want to term all of that, it's all really one kit and caboodle. One of those areas of opportunity for us is to look at how the data collected within wearable devices, wearable systems, wearable platforms in general can help us not just better connect to one another, but be better persons, in terms of our community, in terms of our global community, in terms of our church community. How does me understanding that, I get an inactivity notice when I sit in church service for an hour, does that mean that my church is not active enough, or that really I'm just sitting still when I really should be doing the ecclesia, actually fellowshipping with one another? And I think wearables point us in that kind of direction, where it's not just a matter of I'm tracking my activity, I'm fit and I'm in shape. Don't get me wrong, those are really important. Wellness is probably the most important thing that we're not talking about when it comes to mobile ministry and digital connected spaces. But there's that other part of that, how does the activity, how does the computing that I do lend into a better lifestyle choice, not just for me personally, but then for my local community around myself. And I think those are those areas, where we should pay attention to a little bit more and probably get away from the marketing dribble, that just says, I need to have new bling, or I need to have the latest, shiniest, greatest thing. It doesn't make sense to have a wearable device that can't even exist all day because you got to charge it because it's too busy getting notifications about Facebook people you don't care about, and LinkedIn folks and Twitter folks, and every calendar event for every meeting that you got to go to, where most of them you don't have to go to anyway because they're all video conference. I think those are the kind of things that this year that wearable technologies have been able to unlock in terms of questions about computing, and we should really continue to go forward towards those questions. So like I said, 3 things that have really poked out this year: Android, accessories, wearables. Now, what does that mean going forward for Mobile Ministry Magazine? It means, not that I'm going to cover more Android stuff, because I don't cover specific platforms. There are other websites and other magazines that really cover that area. But it does mean that I'm going to talk about the impacts of these, because as we understand, Android is the most used computing platform on the planet. And because it is the most used computing platform on the planet, there are a lot of opportunities that are being explored with Android. There are a lot of opportunities being explored, with Apple products. There's some really neat things that are happening in the education space, because it's just easier to develop for this than it is for Android, because of the type of nature that Android is. And then, there are going to be some really cool things down the pipe that I think, as digital and connected spaces evolve that we're going to want to talk about more. If I have a wearable device and everybody's coming to church with a tablet or a phone, well, how often do we talk about these little guys? Wireless charging. How many places in your foyer do you have a space for these, little battery packs that are able to, charge your devices, this way, 2 USBs and a micro USB, but also, like in the case of this one here, this also charges my phone wirelessly, so I can charge multiple devices. And if I can sit multiple devices down, what does that mean in terms of a place of fellowship? I think Tesla, the car company, is really doing a good job here with their supercharging stations. They're saying, hey, listen, it takes 30 minutes for you to charge your car back up, once you got it going. So why don't you go shop? Why don't you go fellowship with some folks? Why don't you go learn something new? Take advantage of that 30 seconds. Add some value to your life while you're letting these devices charge, because obviously being connected and being usable and productive in these matters really matter, but they can't be functional all the time. The battery technology isn't quite there yet. So I think those are some things down the pipe to pay attention to, things down the pipe to look at. And I really do hope that you travel with Mobile Ministry Magazine, that you travel with all of those persons who are kind of diving into those diverse spaces and conversations about this. I want to thank you, for just joining us for the last year. Eggnog for those of you who are celebrating the Christmas holiday, because it is a great thing. Love me some eggnog. But I really want to say happy holidays to all of you. Do not lose that this is the season for Christ must come. You must have a relationship with Jesus Christ. If you choose not to have a relationship with him, that is your call. I'm not going to love you any less personally, but I will say that, you're missing out on probably the most valuable relationship that you could ever have in your life if you don't have one with Jesus Christ. And I don't mean that you need to go connect to a church either. You may just have that relationship at first with you and a small group of friends. Just make sure you're connected with Christ. You're connected with people who think like Christ, who act like Christ. And sometimes that's going to mean a harsh judgment, and you're going to have to shift and adjust some things. But that's okay. That's the way that this body functions out. All right. So thank you again for tuning in to the Mobile Ministry Magazine Videocast. For about 12 minutes now, I've bartered your ears and your time. I want you to pay attention to the Theotech podcast. Those come on every Friday. Sometimes I get to be a part of it. You want to pay attention to the Mobile Ministry Forum, mobileministryforum.org, because a lot of good things are coming down the pipe, including next year's event happening in the Netherlands in the middle of April, right after Easter. If you are interested in me coming out and talking to you or talking to your team about mobile ministry, about connected spaces, about just the implications of all of this connected tech and the lifestyles that it causes for us, feel free to get in touch. mobileministrymagazine.com or on Twitter, Mobile Men, M-I-N, Mag, M-A-G. Mobile Men Mag on Twitter or on Pinterest. You can catch me up on both of those. Again, I really value your time, and I thank you for checking in on this year's final Mobile Ministry Magazine Videocast for 2014. Blessings to you all, and I'll see you in 2015. Peace.